Okay, folks, I want to talk to you today about the Citizenship by Investment program in Serbia. I've had some people have brought this up. When I first heard it, I really used to stay on top of this stuff really good. And of course, I knew about the Residency by Investment program in Serbia, but not the Citizenship by Investment program. I had not heard anything about this. And I was talking to a lawyer one day, and it was in Serbia, and she was telling me that Serbia's got a program where you invest $300,000 US for one person, and you get the citizenship really quick, like it's less than 6 months. And when she was telling me about this, I said, gee whiz, as much as I study this stuff, I haven't run across this anywhere. And the St. Kitts passport course, I thought, well, maybe it's just not real popular because St. Kitts just doubled their price from 125 to 250,000 US. And a lot of people complain about this passport in St. Kitts. Well, this one's even higher. It's 300,000 for one person US. If you have other family members, you're talking about close to $1 million, depending on how many family members you got. And I said, this is just real strange. I don't understand why I have not run across this at all. I even started doing a Google search. I couldn't find up anything on it. It floored me. And I said, this is incredible. Now, it doesn't mean just because you Google something you can't find it. Remember, I told a lot of people about the Residency by Investment program in St. Kitts, which is one of the best residency programs in the world because it doesn't have a language requirement. It's no income tax, no capital gains tax, no estate tax, no inheritance tax. No one ever talks about the Residency by Investment program in St. Kitts. And even when I started to try to find out about myself, I couldn't pull up anything at all. And so I actually went down to the government's office. Literally, there was just nothing on the internet on the residency program in St. Kitts. So I literally had to go down to the government's office, and there were 2 different offices. I had to pull out all this information from several people in these government offices, and they really didn't have anything in writing. It was incredible. It's kind of like they were trying to hide it or something. But yeah, you can come here and get the residency program. But the reason I'm bringing that out is the fact that I said, well, maybe this is the same way. Maybe there's just nothing on the internet on it, and it is more expensive than all the fast track programs in the Caribbean. And you got to remember too, in Serbia, your visa-free travel is only it's in the high 130s, visa-free or visa-free on arrival countries and territories. St. Kitts is 154, and St. Kitts has got, it's 50,000 cheaper, even with the big run-up price they had from 125,000 to 250,000 US. So I said, maybe there's just not much interest in it. And so the lady, I was talking to 2 other people from Serbia, and I brought up about this Citizenship by Investment program. They said, what Citizenship by Investment? You're talking about the Residency by Investment? I said, no, I'm talking about the Citizenship by Investment. I said, we don't have one. I said, wait a minute. I just talked to a lawyer. In fact, she's going to send me Article 19, the Citizenship Act. Folks, whenever you get something that's kind of smoky, that just doesn't look like you can't see through it. There's two ways you can do it. If you go in the U.S., Canada, UK, places like that, usually if you get some advice from a lawyer that went to law school, a legitimate lawyer, more than likely you're going to get pretty good advice. Not always, but most of the time. If the guy's been in practice for a long time, he hasn't had, you can't pull up any lawsuits and stuff like that. Typically, it's going to be correct advice. Not so when you go to places like Central America, the Caribbean, places like Africa. I'm telling you, you got to check things out. Sometimes you just cannot go to a lawyer and get good advice. You could literally come down here to St. Kitts and get 3 different answers from 3 different lawyers on stuff. I've seen so much crap, not just here, but I've seen other Caribbean islands too. And I'm gonna tell you really what it boils down to. If you're gonna do something yourself, you really should look at the act, the Citizenship Act, because if it ever gets into court, okay, that's what everyone's gonna look at. Irregardless of what the lawyer said, what you think it is, that's what they're gonna look at. Now, sometimes it can get kind of complicated. You might have to get some sort of legal advice to interpret it if you're gonna be doing this by yourself. But the point I'm trying to make is getting a lawyer doesn't mean that you're gonna get the right advice, okay? Look at the lady that told me about this. Now, what I did was I asked her I wanted to find out what section of the act it was in. She said Article 19. And I said, so is it pretty implicit about the amount and the time period being a fast track program? Oh, no, it doesn't say anything on that. I said, so why do you think there is one that exists if it's not in the act? And she says, well, we just know it's here, okay? And we're not really supposed to advertise it. You can't really put something on YouTube. I'm putting it on YouTube anyway, okay? And she said, basically, that she said the EU really doesn't want Serbia to advertise it because they had applied for EU membership, which they have. And that, you know, I looked at that, and there are countries too, I will tell you, that don't really have anything in the act implicitly stating the amount or the time period, but they're very specific in stating that they grant citizenship for a person that's doing something extraordinarily divine or unique. They've come out with some, you know, they excel in their profession or whatever, but they won't put specifics. But when you don't have anything about, there was no mention about a fast track program, no mention about the amount that was invested, no time period. I'm thinking, so where are they getting their facts and their ideas for a fast track program if it's not anything there? And you know, I'm not saying this girl is right or wrong, but I would never market that product, okay? Because let me tell you the experience that I've had and stuff like this. Is number one, if you got 3 attorneys and one says you can do it, 2 say you can't do it, and then you go in the act and you can't find anything dealing with it. On top of that, I've had experience in seeing these things. I've seen several in Africa. Belize even had a problem. Belize used to have a fast track program back. They pulled away, I think it was 2001, 2002, when 9/11 occurred, and they never brought the program back in existence again. But what happened was they continued to have illegal people selling that passport through the passport office. They had a problem with it. People were addicted to selling these passports. I think in Belize when the program was over with. And let me tell you the problem that you have with this is when you get into something like this, is if there's nothing in the law at all specifying this, at least where the government can come in and they really should have a stated amount. Okay, that's the best way to do it, is have a stated amount and a time period. Like St. Kitts is very pronounced in their Citizenship Act. The amount that you got to invest, the time period, approximate time period, you'll get the in principle approval letter. And this is what you need. You need something that's very pronounced. But if you don't have that, this is the risk that you run, okay? Is this lawyer could be legit. She might not be legit. So what happens if she's not legit? Guess what happens when the guy who's the prime minister that's in office right now, he gets out. The first thing that usually what happens in a lot of countries, they go back and they try to find things that this other guy did that was illegal. And I'm gonna tell you something, the passport scam is one of the biggest things that hits the news. Because a lot of governments don't like it at all, because it's selling your passport, and a lot of people that are locals don't like it. And so if this guy or this lady ends up, even if she thinks she's in the right, and they go back and they look at the act when this prime minister's out of office, the president, whatever they call their state of head there, and they go back and they can go back easily and discard all those people that got passports. So basically your money would go down a rat hole. And I'll tell you something that you don't want is to be traveling and it gets word that Serbia has a passport scam program that's going on. This is a fast track program. And you got places like the UK, the US, Europe, all over the place looking for people with these passports. And they can track you down, okay, based on when you got the passport, and very easy ways they can do this. And they'd be stopped at the border, and then you be with your kids, your wife, or whatever, and you find out this thing's a scam. I'm not saying it is a scam, but I'll tell you something just doesn't look right, okay? There's too many things that I read the Citizenship Act, Article 19, there's nothing there, okay? There's things talking about citizenship, but there's nothing that would imply to me they've got a fast track lump sum program that you can get quick. There was nothing there at all. And I even asked her, and she says there's nothing there. Even she admitted it, which you read it and it doesn't say it. No one can come back and say it's there when it's not there. And the reason I'm bringing this out, if you run across this, I would be real wary. And not just this country, but any country that doesn't have something spelled out in the Citizenship Act. Especially if you can't Google search and find something else. If there's no competition out there, there's no mention of anywhere else, that's when you need to get worried. If you're going to proceed with it, get a copy of the Citizenship Act. You might want to even hire 2 or 3 lawyers. And if all 3 of them admit that this program exists, and they can show you proof, but it should be in the Citizenship Act. That's where it should be. If it's not there, then there's something's wrong, okay? And I would advise you to stay away from anything that's like that. And you know, it's what you don't want to do is pay several $100,000 in a program. And remember, that's just the donation. That doesn't include all the background check fee, the thousands of dollars for that. The more family members you got, the more expensive it's going to be. And I would tell you that I would do some checking and make sure. Now, like I said, just because you don't have anything that's real solid doesn't mean that it's not out there, you know, okay? For instance, there's countries out there today that don't have defined residency periods that you can apply for the citizenship after that time period. Some do, and they don't go by it. But some don't even have defined periods, okay? And so that's a tough thing to work with when you have that. So anyway, folks, if you want to learn more on this, you can go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, and just ask for some help. And I would like to hear from you. If you got a question or comment, just put it below. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the right of your screen right here. We got just under 1,000 videos, and you'll pick up some good tips that can probably save you a lot of money. And this is an example of one. And I look forward to talking to you on the next video. Take care.